welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas, and I've been involved in home-based business for over 30 years. Now, I deal with a subset of the traditional real estate business. Now, that subset is a little unusual. It's tax liens and tax defaulted property. This business of defaulted properties works nationwide across the United States. The business when I started was completely manual and physical, so that meant we had to do everything by going to the county, researching the records there. For example, if the property was located in another state, we'd have to drive to the airport and then fly to the other state to look at it and do whatever. Well, today you still need to look at it, but you can do all your research using the satellite, and you can basically evaluate it and research properties right from your home, and you can do that with your computer. So we also use the services of Google and Zillow and Trulia and all of the different services like a multiple listing service so that we can do comparable prices when it comes time to selling. So my point of the whole thing is this is a much easier business than when we started a few years ago. So what do you need to start a home business? Although we teach students that they have to go out and actually look at the properties, most of this work can be done from your home business. All right, now how do we do that? Well, you're going to do it by using a computer and the Wi-Fi and the satellites and things like that. But ultimately, you'll need boots on the ground to check out the property. I'll be right back to tell you more about that. Okay, so what episode are we talking about today? The question I'm answering is, what do you need to do to start a home business? So I'm going to discuss the question, and it comes up again and again. Now, a place to start is make sure you do a lot of preparation. The more thoroughly you prepare, the better the business is going to be and the better your start's going to be. So you can expect to make a plan, expect it to be interrupted, expect things to be changed, but that's what you want. You want to get as much of that done before you start. You don't want to wait until the end. I don't know what your skills are, but my assumption is that you have certain crafts and skills that you can use and that you have some kind of profession that you're going to sell into that profession. All right, now if you've already started your planning, just keep right on going. But there's a lot of questions to answer when it comes to starting a business. For example, do you know what your competition is and who it is? It's always good to have competition. Why? Well, if you have competition, you know that there's a business out there, because if that business is surviving, then you just need to do a better job than they're doing and you'll get business. Okay, so what about the market? Do you know how to market? Do you know what these people want? If you're going to have a business, what you need to do is number one, you need to be ready to help other people. So help other people, help them solve a problem, and then you have a business. Now, will people pay to solve this problem? So if you're going to create a business, you want to create a business that you can sell something, whether it's a service or it's a product. Are you going to do it online? You're going to do it offline? You're going to do online and offline? All of those things are part of your planning process. Now, have you already tested the product? For example, a lot of people test with their relatives and their friends. Or are you just going to be at the stage where you're planning it right now? You need to think this out, because you don't want to start a business, whether it's from home or anywhere, unless you have a problem-solving product that people will pay. And if they won't pay for that product, then you better not try and sell it, because you're going to work awful hard. So when are you starting your business? Are you ready to go right away? Or are you going to go in 6 months? So in this episode, I'm really discussing and answering the question, what do you need to start a home business? Well, think about considerable planning and think about where you're going to do that from. For example, when I launched a business 30 years ago, I did that from a home. But before I did that, I differentiated. In other words, I found a difference between what I was doing, and I was completely different from the regular and the traditional real estate market. So I wanted to purchase not in the regular real estate market and wait a long time for the properties to appreciate. I wanted to go to the tax defaulted auctions, buy there so I could get bargain properties. So I wanted to go to the government mandated auctions and buy at 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar, and then be able to resell them. Now, when I did that, I would know ahead of time how much money I could make. For example, if I could buy a property for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, or even 30 cents on the dollar, could I then sell it for 60 cents on the dollar and make a profit out of that? All right, so across the United States, every treasurer in every county has defaulted properties to sell. The legislature mandated years ago that all property owners must pay property taxes. Well, a lot of people don't pay property taxes, so what happens, the treasurer actually takes action in the county, and what they do is they confiscate the property, and then they resell it at a public auction. Now, when they resell it, they're only interested in collecting the taxes, so what they do is they sell it for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar. In other words, they're giving huge discounts, and they take the mortgage off the property. The treasurer is mandated and authorized to cancel the mortgage or the deed of trust loan on a property. So now you're buying properties with 60, 70, 80% discounts, and they don't have a mortgage on them. All right, so if you can buy at these low prices, well, that's really going to work. So I basically developed a system. So I want to buy at the lowest price possible, but I'm also going to be different, and I'm going to sell at a price under the market. In other words, I'm not going to compete one-on-one with the traditional real estate market. I'm going to buy it low, and I'm going to sell it low. I want to buy it low and sell it low. And that puts me as a competitor in the market, and I can get my property sold relatively quickly. All right, is that a business? Absolutely. And there's over 3,000 tax defaulted auctions every year. Actually, it's closer to 5,000 auctions, but they'll take place in 3,000 different counties. All right, so let's go back to your home business. What do you need to start that business? Well, you need to have a plan. Do you know what you want? Are you prepared to help others? And how do you plan to get paid? How do you plan to get paid? Your business must solve problems. Are you willing to be flexible and change what you want to do? Well, if you're going to make money, you're going to have a problem-solving product or a service. So you could be selling, like I do, I sell informational materials, whether that would be books or CDs or audios and so on, but I also could provide a service of having coaching, or I could have a seminar or something like that. All right, so how are you going to make money, and how long is it going to take for you to get to make money? That's a big challenge for everybody. So you need to know when you're going to be able to turn a profit. All right, so you can't pray, because praying is not going to be a good business strategy. You need to know the product and what you can sell it for and how quick it's going to take place. If you can't sell the product, you don't have a business. A lot of people create things, but they can't sell them because people won't pay to learn how to do that. All right, so you're going to have to determine how you're going to sell it. Are you going to sell it? Are you going to have salesmen sell it? Are you going to sell it online? Are you going to have distributors sell it? You need to do all of that part of your planning. All right, now, what are you doing about financing? Where are you getting the money? Are you going to do crowdfunding? Are you going to try and get it from a bank? Or are you going to try and get it from your friends? Well, you might think about your friends and your family, because the banks really don't like to fund startups. All right, they don't like to do that. All right, could you do that with crowdfunding? Well, yes, maybe you'll need to learn about Kickstarter and some of those other crowdfunding sites and see if people will help you with it. In other words, you've got a lot of challenging questions that you must get answers. So financing is a challenge. If you have savings, do you have enough savings? How long will it last? If you can't raise the money from the bank, what are you going to do? What if Kickstarter won't raise any money? You need to have thought this out. So the source of funds and how much needs to be part of your plan. But remember, your plan isn't going to be any good at all if you don't know how you're going to sell this problem-solving product. So if a business is going to fail, it's going to fail because it doesn't have revenue and people don't know how to manage money. All right, so who's going to buy this product? What's your profit going to be on the product? You need to know this before you start the business. You don't want to wait till the last minute. All right. Now, business is competitive. You need to have a competitive advantage. So what's my competitive advantage? Well, my competitive advantage is I'm going to buy the property low. It won't have a mortgage or a deed of trust loan on it. And then I'm going to sell it low. When I say I'm going to sell it low, I'm going to market the property, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I'm going to be under the traditional market. So if the traditional market is $100,000, I want to be selling for $65,000 or $75,000, so I'm under the market. I want to buy at a bargain price, and I want to sell to bargain hunters. Now, how do I find the bargain hunters? What I do is I use the media to do that. I can't sell it all by myself, so I use the media. Can I use the multiple listing service? Yes. Can I use Zillow? Okay. Can I use Trulia? I can use all of these different sites. For example, Craigslist. Can I use that? Yes, I want to use all those sites and let people know I have a bargain property. All right, I need to do all that planning and know what I'm going to sell for prior to starting that home business. So if I bought for 30 cents on the dollar and I want to sell for 60 cents on the dollar, how am I going to do that? So I want to be just like the Target store or Costco or Walmart. What do? They buy it low and they sell it low. You can do the exact same thing. All right, now my name is Ted Thomas, and for those of you who want to know more, I have more videos in this channel about that. But right below me, there's a free gift for you. But before I leave you, I wanted to say this. If you're going to buy properties and you're going to go to auctions, you must have boots on the ground and have seen that property before you buy it. Don't buy from a picture. Don't buy online. Don't buy from a video. Make sure you have boots on the ground. I don't know if there was a hurricane the day before. I don't know if there was a fire. I don't know if there was any kind of storm. And who knows? What if the property's next to a chicken farm? You're not going to be able to sell that in August. I can tell you that, because it's going to be pretty smelly around there. Again, I'm Ted Thomas. There's a free gift right below me.